Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is mindset, and we're going to discuss what's in your cup. We've often talked about the need to fill your cup. So in the sense that you cannot pour from an empty glass. So what that is referring to is your energies, your emotions. If you want to give your best to other people, you have to make sure you have something to give. So if you're always worn thin, you're always kind of sad, depressed, just worn out, there's nothing much left in your cup, it's hard then to pour into others' lives. So the most selfless thing you can do is to take care of yourself. You need to fill your cup so that way you can give the most, you can pour the most into others' lives. Now, today's topic kind of pairs with that. And an aunt of mine shared a post with me that I freaking loved, and I'm very thankful that she shared it with me. And what it was in regards to is what is in your cup. So, what are you filling it with? Now, this is kind of like something that we would have, like filling your cup sounds good. And I can genuinely say that I didn't really think of specifically discussing this issue of what are you filling it with, like what's in it, your cup. Now, we would have kind of like inherently kind of thought good things, and kind of like roughed around the answer, but to sometimes have the wording presented in a new way, it can force you to think of it in a new way. So we would have thought to ourselves, okay, yeah, I got to fill my cup. I got to do things that make me feel good. Take care of my health. Like we talk about physical, emotional, mental, relational, and spiritual health. So you want to make sure that you're filling your cup in all of those areas. And we would have assumed that we would have filled it with good things. But let's look at this a little bit further. So the thing she sent me was kind of like a scenario that I thought was just kind of a neat way to think of it. Is if you're thinking to yourself, is you're walking around, okay, holding a cup, and someone bumps into you, making you spill the contents of that cup. Life does the same. We walk around with our cup, which is our emotions, our energies, so who we are, our character, and life comes along and bumps us. Okay? It kind of nudges us out of our nice little wonderful world, and something comes up and happens. Maybe somebody just frustrates you at work, somebody cuts you off in traffic, maybe something depressing like your car breaks down, maybe a family member has a bad health moment, maybe you have a breakup in a relationship. There's just things in life that come around and they bump us. And often what we are filled with, like what's in our cup, is what's going to spill out. So, what spills out of you when life bumps you? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it depression? Is it the feeling of, oh no, not this again? So, is that what's in your cup? Or when life bumps you, are you still grateful? Are you still happy? Are you still kind? Do you forgive others for their mistakes? So, what is in your cup is what spills out. So, what you fill your cup with is extremely important because life absolutely will bump you. So, you have to be careful about what's in your cup to be sure that what spills out is something that you're okay with, proud with, like that you're planning to spill out in a sense of like, are you controlling it? So, if every time something happens to you, you get angry and just get mad at everybody, that's not a good thing to spill out. That's not what you want to share into the world. So, also, same thing as if something happens to you and your natural response is Eeyore mode, being depressed and saying, oh, it's always me. So, always this again. And that's not a really productive, happy way to live. So, yes, life does come along, it bumps you, and bad things happen. But that doesn't mean your whole life is a bad thing. There's probably good things in there. So it's important to remain grateful. It's important to remain kind of keeping an eye on the context of the bigger picture. Okay? So this led me to think of what are we filling our cup with? And In regards to nutrition, I'll often talk to people about what's called empty calories, meaning they might eat candy rather than, say, sweet potatoes. So both of them give you energy, but sweet potatoes is long lasting, healthy energy. Candy is short burst, feels really good right now, but you're going to be left drained and with nothing in a very short amount of time. So candy might only last, say, 15, 20 minutes, whereas the sweet potato energy might last 2 or 3 hours. So, are you filling your cup with empty activities? In order to kind of refill your cup, in order to feel re energized, in order to feel like de stressed from the world, what are you doing? Are you drinking a glass of wine and watching TV for 3 or 4 hours? Or are you having like a family game night? Or maybe getting a new hobby, trying to create something that you can then give or sell to others, do something that has personal development rather than tearing yourself apart. So you might think, oh, what's the worry of a glass of wine? Well, every time you do that, don't you feel guilty? And then you feel like you're not making progress in your diet, and then you don't feel like you look good, and then you're depressed again. So you thought the wine would help you with the stress of, say, work, but all it did was create stress of depression. So that was an empty calories. That was an empty way to fill your cup. Watching TV all night for a couple hours a night, that doesn't really fill your cup for much. Don't you feel like you have to do that again the next day? It's very short term. Whereas, like I said, maybe you have a family game night. You get together as a family, maybe you play cards, maybe you play board games. Maybe you don't have family nearby, so you get together with friends. Sometimes we can go out with friends, like say on a Monday night. Maybe you hate Mondays. So you make it through work and then you go meet a friend and you have a really good dinner, just have a good time together on Monday night. Usually you're going to feel pretty good on Tuesday too. Wednesday you're going to feel okay, start to drain. Then maybe by Thursday or Friday you start to feel drained again and emptied out. But then all of a sudden maybe Thursday night's karaoke night or Friday is going out with friends. So you might find that if you fill your cup with something of high quality on a Monday, it might last till Thursday or Friday. Whereas if you watch 2 or 3 hours of TV on a Monday, you're going to end up doing the same dumb thing on Tuesday, same dumb thing on Wednesday. It never seems to last. So one scenario builds memories and relationships. The other one is short-term, empty nothingness. So you might think is, okay, what else do I do to kind of recharge myself? Do I maybe go for a walk and listen to an audiobook? Maybe about relationships or life or about time management or energy management or just a fun audiobook, something that makes me laugh. Maybe there's a comedy or maybe you like suspense and drama. So you listen to an audiobook about that, but you go for a walk. Okay? Or do you binge Netflix for 3 hours? Which one is really, do you think, a higher quality way of filling your cup? So the walk improves your health, gets your energy up. Okay, helps you lose some weight maybe. The audiobook helps you with like maybe answering some things that you kind of had on your brain. Maybe you've been worried about a friend that isn't doing well. So you can read an audiobook about counseling friends. You can listen to an audiobook about maybe something they're going through. So I've listened to a lot of audiobooks. So I actually listened to one recently that was a female perspective book on mental health. And too often females have to read from a male point of view. And I think that's kind of a bummer. Like, it's not really fair. So it's fun and it's awesome that women have other female authors that can give them insights as a female would think. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about that so I could help my clients. So I listened to a female audiobook about mental health. And there's an enormous amount of similarities between females and males, but there are also some very unique differences. And it was fun for me to become aware of those more and kind of get a fresh perspective at sometimes what seems like the same old thing. So that was a moment that I took that carried over into future conversations that helped friends, helped family. There was future benefits to that time spent. Whereas if you binge Netflix for a while, say 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday, what's that going to get you? That doesn't really lead to anything future benefit wise. So are you filling your cup with empty activities? Or are you filling it with meaningful things that'll actually build upon you and improve your life? Okay? Another thing we have to think of is what's already in your cup. So sometimes we have the amount that we have to give to the world. That's a finite amount. So our cup is a certain size. And I do believe that over time you can build the size of your cup. So we can improve willpower, for example, over time. You can improve discipline over time. You can improve your ability to make smart decisions. Okay, the number of smart decisions per day. You can build that over time. So over time you can increase the size of your cup, but at any one given time, your cup is kind of your cup for the day. That's all you got. Okay? So growth happens over time. And whether your cup is small, whether your cup is large, if we have old crap in our life, so junk, debris, sitting at the bottom of our cup, it's going to limit how much good stuff we can then put in the cup. So if my cup holds 32 ounces and I have 16 ounces of shit from the past, that means I can only put 16 ounces of good stuff into my 32-ounce cup. So sometimes the old junk that we bring in from the past can limit our space for happiness in the now. Okay? And that's where recently I was talking with somebody about therapy. We were talking about going to therapy and kind of working through some past stuff. And sometimes therapy gets a bad rap. And then also, people who often go through therapy have to go through an enormous amount of pain in the sense of they have to unearth the old junk and they have to get it out of their cup. That's not a fun process. So just like we use a shovel to dig a hole in the ground, okay, they'd have to be using a mental shovel to dig the junk out of their cup and throw it away. That takes effort. It takes effort to dig the shovel into the ground. It takes effort to scoop the soil up out of the ground. It takes effort to throw it over the edge. There's effort put into cleaning out your cup. So sometimes therapy can be painful because you're bringing forth old memories. You're having to wrestle with old experiences, old things that you kind of buried deep down in. And we think when we bury them, they're gone. They're not. They're just sitting at the bottom of our cup. And they're limiting all the good stuff we can put on top of our cup. Or, worst, they kind of poison anything new we put into our cup. So just like I want to fill, a glass with water, but if there's, some oil in the bottle, so on the bottom of the cup, so if you think like motor oil in the bottom of a cup, and then you poured water into it, I wouldn't then drink that. So sometimes the junk we have doesn't stay buried at the bottom. Anytime we want to put new stuff in, it kind of ruffles it all up and mixes it in with the new stuff. So sometimes we come into our current life with a tainted viewpoint, a poisoned viewpoint. So we always are coming from this mindset of something from the past. So if somebody's been hurt in past relationships, sometimes they carry that hurt into future relationships. So they judge the new person based on the old person's mistakes. It's not really fair to the new person. And if all you're looking for is flaws and you keep digging and digging and digging and digging, you're going to find them. No one is perfect. Everyone will make mistakes in your life. So if you feel like everyone always lets me down, and anytime you meet somebody new, you keep pushing and digging for where they're going to let you down, you're going to find it because everybody will let you down to some degree. Some people are going to do it in a more hurtful, harmful way. But everyone, even good people, make mistakes. So if you're always looking for the flaws, you're going to find them. Because everyone has flaws, even you. Even you have let people down in certain ways. Everyone is human. Everyone makes mistakes. So we have to be careful about the old junk that is sitting in the bottom of our cup. So even if you were to successfully bury it and it wouldn't poison anything new you put in, it still limits how much new you can put in, how much good you can put into your cup, because you have that old bad stuff sitting at the bottom. So we need to be aware of this. This is like I said, a really fun thought to kind of think through. Is we know the idea of filling our cup. And if you've embraced that and you've worked on filling your cup, that's freaking awesome. Congratulations. Now we can take the next step and say, okay, well, what am I filling it with? Am I filling it with the highest quality of rejuvenating, like, physical health, rejuvenating my mental health, my emotional health, my relational health, my spiritual health? Am I checking off the boxes and putting stuff in my cup? Am I doing that? Or am I paying attention to the quality of the stuff I'm putting in my cup? Am I putting in the best available? Okay? So that's something we can think of. So I think that's a really cool idea. The other one is to think of what's already in our cup. So are you avoiding the pain of digging up the old junk and getting it out? The longer you avoid, the more it's just going to limit your happiness. So if you find you can be happy, but very quickly it fades away. Some days are ho-hum, some days are good, but it never really seems to stay. The reason why could be that you have so much junk in your cup that there's no room for a significant amount of good new stuff. So very quickly that good new stuff wears out. Okay, it's drained, it's emptied into the world. Maybe we have, a friend, a coworker that has a tough conversation at lunch. We kind of help them through lunch, but then all of a sudden the whole rest of the afternoon we're kind of worn out, kind of fizzled. We're kind of angry at everybody. Everybody always asks me for help and no one ever helps me. So we kind of get worn out real fast. If you find that to be true, maybe there's so much junk in your cup that you can't put enough good new stuff in to last for very long. So we might be avoiding, addressing the old stuff. And it's whether you go through therapy or not, and you don't have to have therapy, but very, very, very often it helps to have a guide through our difficulties in life. So in my world, people will hire a nutritionist to help guide their way to healthy eating. People will they'll hire a trainer to help them guide their way to proper training. It makes sense then, if I want mental health, if I want to be the healthiest I can be mentally, it makes sense to hire a guide who can help you do that. So, just something to think of, okay? So, when you're thinking of filling your cup, are you filling it with the best quality stuff? Or are you thinking candy or sweet potatoes? Okay? And then when you think about your cup, is it already filled with junk? If it is, don't pretend that just burying it makes it gone. It's not. It's at the bottom of the cup. It's going to limit how much good stuff you can put in. And often, the junk at the bottom of your cup, whenever you get jolted around, when life bumps you, it's going to wrestle some of that stuff up from the bottom. It's going to mix in with the new stuff, and everything's going to be tainted and poisoned. So you need to get rid of the old junk that's in your cup, okay? As best as you can. And you need to make sure that you're filling your cup with the highest quality of stuff available. That's going to allow you to have the best life for yourself, but also have the best self to give into other people's lives. Cool. Okay? So, hopefully you try this. If you have any questions or if you think you need any help, we're always, always, always happy to help. Our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. So if you want to find better ways to fill your cup, in the physical realm, we're absolutely happy to help with that. We can help with other realms as well. So if you're looking at mental health, emotional health, relational health, we can kind of point you towards better, good books to read, or we can find resources that know more about that stuff than we do, okay? But we're always happy to help. If you like this podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. This podcast is for you, so we know what you want to learn about. And you can tell us at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.